An interesting question came up this morning. Why do whales beach themselves? And I like these type of questions because I've grown up within a family of science, around scientists and with the love of science, and we talk about science, we talk about evolution, we learn about evolution. I learned about evolution from a very early age. I was always fascinated with evolution, and I've always been fascinated with human behaviour and animal behaviour. It's interesting because once you understand evolution, behaviour becomes a very interesting part of evolution. So I thought this is an interesting question. I think the first thing you need to consider when answering this question, it's interesting how we find this subject fascinating because all sea creatures, pretty much everything that's in the ocean, at some stage will end up on the shoreline. Whether it's fish, starfish, shells, jellyfish, pretty much anything that's in the ocean can potentially wash up onto the shoreline. There's no reason why anything in the ocean can't wash up onto the shoreline. I suppose with this exception of the very, very deep sea, which we know less about than we know about space. We actually know less about the deep, deep sea than we know about space. But the general sea, that we have a good understanding of, we do know that everything washes up onto the shoreline. But we don't find it that fascinating when a fish or a jellyfish washes up. We just kind of step over it when we're at the beach and just go, watch out for the jellyfish. But when a whale ends up on the shoreline, it's almost like an otherworldly experience. We're fascinated by it. And I think there's a couple of reasons. One is got to do with the mass of a whale. I mean, they are the biggest animals on the planet. So to have the biggest animal on the planet wash up on the shoreline, yeah, sure, that's pretty fascinating. And the other thing I think we kind of identify with whales, and we identify with dolphins because we're mammals. And like fish, for anyone who doesn't understand the difference, fish, their spinal cord goes this way. They're very efficient in the water, they're very fast. Their spinal cord goes this way. Mammals didn't evolve in the water. They come up onto the shore and then they went back in the water. So they don't have this. They have what we have. It hinges this way. So if we're in the water, we don't swim this way. We've got this going on. Like if you see a mermaid, they've got this going on because they're mammals, because their hips are going a different way, or their spinal cord goes a different direction. And it's because we've evolved on the land to be suitable for land, but some of us went back in the water and evolved in the water. That's why, whales are very closely related to hippopotamus. That's probably one of the closest relatives. They're also related to cows. I mean, we even call baby whales calves because of the category that they're in. So I guess we kind of have a affiliation with it because they're mammals. They're kind of like us in some respects. They're very intelligent. And the anatomy of it is in some ways is similar to humans and other calves that we're familiar with, other mammals that we're familiar with. So we kind of make an exception when a whale comes into the shore. We go, wow, this is a big event. Why does this happen? Why does this happen? But we don't ask, why does a fish end up on the shore? But we do ask, why does a whale end up on the shore? That can't be possible. But if you think about it, every animal on the planet can get into accidents, can end up dying, in various ways. Why should whales be any exception? There's a couple of scientific reasons. One of them is topographic. So during a tide cycle, tides can actually go out kilometers in literally minutes. They can be out within minutes and travel kilometers. Now, whales aren't perfect. They're just like any other animal. They can get into accidents. They can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And if they're in a shallower water during a tide cycle and the tide goes out, they can end up on the shore. Other thing is they can get sick. They can get senile. They can get distressed, just like any other animal, and end up going the wrong direction and just making a mistake and ending up closer to the shoreline, and when the tide goes out, they're basically on the beach. Another thing is damage from humans. So they have to breathe. They breathe through their blowhole. They're on the surface of the water quite a bit. That's how they breathe. ships are on the surface. Ships are very big. Ships are very fast. A big ship traveling quickly, hitting a whale is going to cause a lot of damage. Also netting. Netting, they can get caught up in netting. That's definitely something that can happen. And in those situations, again, they can become distressed. They're trying to, panicking. They panic and they end up going close to the shore and end up beached again. And the other thing is noise pollution. So noise travels very far underwater. In fact, that's how they communicate across the ocean. Whales communicate with each other across ocean using sound, because sound travels very far and they're very sensitive to sound. And things like sonar can be very, very distressing, can be painful for a whale. So when there's something like noise sonar going, they panic and they go a different direction. And it's not that difficult to end up making a mistake and going close to the shore at the wrong time when you're under distress and end up on the beach. So yeah, I think it's a really fascinating question. I think one of the most fascinating things about this question is that we find it unique, something unique about a whale being on the shoreline. There's something unique about it, something, almost like, how can that happen? But we don't ask that about any other animal dying on the planet, whether it's fish being washed up or jellyfish being washed up or ending up on the shore. Or goats, mountain goats, or seals falling off cliffs by mistake. Seals fall off cliffs by mistake. They're just animals. They're just animals. Nobody's perfect. Nothing's perfect. We've just all evolved. We're all imperfect, including whales. And there's absolutely no reason why they can't end up on the shoreline, and they do. So I thought that was an interesting question. Thank you.